Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your dense, complicated source material and really just strip it down to the essential, jaw-dropping truth. And if you thought you knew the story of the boy who lived, well, you should prepare for a total psychological inversion.
Yeah.
The sources you've shared with us describe a world where, honestly, nothing is as it seems.
Not even close.
The most celebrated figures in the wizarding world are actually operating from a place of just cold, calculated malice.
Exactly. This isn't a story about, moral gray areas. It's a deeply unsettling narrative where the supposed hero is just a meticulously engineered victim.
And greatest manipulator is the man with the longest white beard.
You got it.
Yeah.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to unpack the sheer complexity of this alternate reality. We're focusing on the dark design of Albus Dumbledore, the elaborate deception used to create a decoy hero.
And these volatile cross-house alliances formed by students who are just.
Yeah.
They're determined to get control of their lives back.
Away from the headmaster's influence.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into the shocking core of this narrative. Dumbledore's true intent regarding Harry Potter's childhood.
Okay, yeah.
The sources establish his goal with this chilling clarity that just redefines his character. He wasn't aiming for protection or for humility at the Dursleys.
Not at all. His explicit recorded intention, and this is a direct quote from the material, was to ensure Harry arrived at Hogwarts unhappy with his life and completely dependent on me.
Wow, that one quote. It's the linchpin, isn't it?
It's everything. It fundamentally recontextualizes every single major choice Dumbledore makes about this kid.
And you see this philosophy put into practice almost immediately.
Right away, with Molly Weasley, a devout Order member. She offers to take Harry in.
She practically begged him
To let her raise him in safety, and he just
refused flatly.
He refused because a loving environment, a nurturing family like the Weasleys, that would have produced an independent, psychologically secure child.
A child who wouldn't be compliant.
Exactly. He needed a loyal, emotionally dependent soldier who would see him, Dumbledore, as the only reliable adult figure in his life. The whole plan hinged on cultivating trauma.
And to guarantee this isolation, he didn't just, passively leave Harry on the doorstep. He set up this draconian, almost medieval rule set. To cement his control. He basically declared that if the Dursleys gave Harry away, they would die.
Right.
And, maybe even more cruelly, the adoptive family that took him in would be cursed.
Cursed to suffer just catastrophic misfortune. I mean, that elevates Dumbledore from just a neglectful guardian to an active agent of dark magic and blackmail.
It's total isolation.
Who would dare challenge that, knowing you'd face instant death or ruin? It's this mechanism of total control, and it's so important when we start connecting his actions to the backstories of the other students.
It shows his cruelty isn't just about the Potters.
Not by a long shot.
Which brings us to the tragedy of Paul Alexander Ulrich and Isabella Bromling Crenshaw Ulrich.
The grandparents of Alexander Sandial.
Yeah. They were killed in what the sources specifically call a wizard attack that was disguised as a routine traffic accident.
And it happened just 3 weeks after Sandy was born. And Dumbledore is heavily, heavily implicated in engineering this whole thing.
The sources are so specific about the fallout from that, too.
Oh, they are. His own wife, Minerva McGonagall, she confronts him over it. She points out that Sandy's mother, Irina Ulrich, would never trust him because she was convinced Dumbledore caused the accident.
So even in his own home, the lies are starting to fray.
They are. And what's really critical here is Irina's reaction. She didn't just, disagree with him. She immediately left the Order of the Phoenix.
Severed all ties.
All of them. She took her son, Sandy, and raised him completely away from magic and, most importantly, away from Dumbledore.
And this tragedy, it serves two massive purposes in the narrative, doesn't it?
It really does. First, it establishes Sandy Ulrich, who's a key figure in the Student Alliance later, as someone with a deep, personal, foundational hatred of Dumbledore.
Right. He's not coming to Hogwarts with awe. He's coming with a massive chip on his shoulder.
The size of a mountain range. And second, it gives McGonagall significant, undeniable leverage over her husband later on.
She knows his crimes aren't just limited to the Potters.
Exactly. Dumbledore's arrogance, thinking he could engineer all this tragedy without any consequences, well, it ends up creating his most potent opponents.
And that arrogant assumption that he could control every single variable, that's exactly what brings us to our first segment. He had his curse, he had the Dursleys lined up, but he completely failed to account for one very determined, highly educated Muggle lawyer.
Right, so when Dumbledore drops Harry off, the Dursleys' reaction is it's immediate and it's a decisive no.
They just refuse.
Vernon and Petunia saw Harry as this intrusion, this burden, dropped off like a package from the UPS, which is how the sources put it.
Yeah, they were just appalled by the callousness. He didn't even show up in person to explain anything.
Nothing. No resources, no explanation. They just wanted him gone immediately.
And we really need to spend a moment on Petunia's specific trauma here, because she wasn't just some bitter muggle reacting to magic.
No, she was a deeply scarred person.
She got kicked out of Hogwarts at 15, forced to finish school at a normal high school, Stonecrest High.
And she carried this intense resentment, especially toward her brother, Carlisle Lee Evans, who apparently mocked her constantly for her lack of magical ability.
The irony there is it's so profound. Because Lee himself was a dropout.
He was. Left Hogwarts at 17 to go backpacking in South America, but Petunia still internalizes all that mockery.
She's so disconnected from Lily's adult life that she actually thinks her sister married Severus Snape.
Not James Potter. I mean, that level of misinformation, it just explains why she initially rejects Vernon's idea to send Harry to Lee. She says he couldn't even look after a puppy.
But the unwelcome savior shows up anyway.
Carlisle Lee Evans.
And he is far from the deadbeat Petunia imagines. Lee is a Harvard-educated, incredibly powerful, wealthy lawyer.
Right. And when he and his wife marry, they don't just ask, they intervene. And Lee doesn't use magic.
No, he uses the Muggle legal system, which is arguably more terrifying to Dumbledore than any curse could be.
That is the genius of this twist. Lee launches this aggressive legal maneuver. He explicitly threatens Dumbledore and the Dursleys with a devastating high-profile custody battle.
A battle neither of them could survive, politically or socially.
Not a chance. Lee asserts his legal right to raise Harry as a proper, respectable boy, and he emphasizes that Harry will not play with magic.
So Dumbledore finds out about this massive derailment of his plans at James and Lily's funeral.
And the sources say he was furious.
His entire plan, the cultivation of dependence, it's just instantly ruined by a sharp Muggle lawyer.
He considers, various punishments for Lee, but the legal threat is just too strong. So Lee and Mary take Harry away from the Dursleys.
They place him intentionally far away at #185 Privet Drive.
And for 11 years, Harry lives a life that is the complete opposite of what Dumbledore had planned.
We get these really beautiful snapshots of this normal life, too. He's attending Sunday school, learning about the Bible, building healthy relationships.
And most importantly, excelling in physics.
Right. There are anecdotes about him explaining complex concepts like relativity to his peers in a way they can actually understand.
His whole education is rooted in logic, structure, natural laws. It's completely immune to the arbitrary nature of the wizarding world.
And this is the foundation of his future resistance. He's a logical thinker. He approaches the world from a place of established rules, observable facts. So magic, to him, is always going to be an intellectual contradiction.
His logical mind is Dumbledore's greatest enemy, far more so than any Dark Lord.
And this normal logical life stands in just horrifying contrast to the fate of the boy Dumbledore placed under the Dursley roof as the decoy.
Patrick Harvey.
Yeah.
Patrick was put there, suffered 10 years of abuse, and was intentionally subjected to Dumbledore's curse.
We need to be very clear about the nature of that curse. It wasn't just a hex.
No, it was a psychological conditioning tool. It was designed specifically to make Patrick weak and docile.
Functionally impaired.
Precisely. It prevented him from thinking clearly, from functioning properly, and definitely from fighting back.
The purpose wasn't just punishment.
No, it was engineering total dependency. Dumbledore needed Patrick, the decoy boy who lived, to be completely dependent on the headmaster for training as a future soldier.
So Patrick was meant to be this pliable, emotionally empty shell that Dumbledore could just fill with his own ideology.
It makes Dumbledore an active, calculated abuser. He's exploiting Patrick to fulfill the role that Harry managed to escape.
And the sources confirm Patrick truly believed he was the boy who lived.
Living under the shadow of this immense destiny while being psychologically broken by his guardian and his magic, that's a level of manipulation that it goes so far beyond simple neglect.
Absolutely. The existence of the cursed decoy is the definitive proof of Dumbledore's pure malice.
Yeah, and the consequences of his other actions, they're still rippling outwards. Which brings us to our second segment, where we see how many of these damaged children, all linked in some way to Dumbledore's failures, are now converging on Hogwarts in 1991.
Let's start with one of the most tragic and violent backstories, Willa Tyrell. When she was 3, she escaped her cruel older brothers heirs, Raphael, Martin, and Simon, with the help of Dumbledore's 5-year-old daughter, Amber.
And the sources are really clear about the brothers' motivation. It was a lie. They believe Willa caused their mother's death.
Which is impossible. Their mother died 2 years before Willa was even born.
Right. So the situation escalates dramatically when Willa is 8 at Hogwarts. Her brothers track her down. Amber Dumbledore tries to defend her.
And Minerva McGonagall intervenes.
Yeah.
She confirms the abuse. She physically confronts the oldest brother, Ares, but before Dumbledore can exercise his control.
And he wanted to. He wanted Willa returned to her father, Marcus, a move that McGonagall called nothing short of murder.
But before he can, Willa just erupts.
She uses this raw, devastating magic.
Yeah. In this horrifying display of traumatic power, Willa uses magic to turn 3 of her brothers' heirs, Raphael and Martin, into 3 large piles of ashes.
Vaporized her abusers. Simon is left unconscious.
And McGonagall steps in immediately.
Yeah, she recognizes the immense pain, the power, and the sheer injustice Willa faced. And she overrules Dumbledore.
She protects Willa from her father and forces Dumbledore to let her stay at Hogwarts permanently.
Dumbledore loses a massive power struggle to his wife right there in front of everyone.
And Willa, who's clearly not built for traditional schooling, she graduates early.
And the sources confirm that by 1991, she's already an active agent in disrupting the establishment. She's sending letters to her father, hinting at major family secrets being exposed.
This 11-year-old is a highly capable witch, already operating outside the system, and she's ready to expose Dumbledore's whole network.
And she and Amber Dumbledore, who started Hogwarts at 7, they're part of this unusual influx of younger students.
Right, the incoming first-year class in 1991 is heavily populated by 10-year-olds. Patrick Harvey, Agnes Parker, Julian Olson, Abigail Buford.
Harley Parkinton. It's a crucial detail that tells us about the broader state of the magical world.
The unusual density of 10-year-olds.
Right. The sources imply this is a twofold thing. First, Dumbledore is trying to quickly replenish the ranks with potential heroes he can mold.
Younger, more vulnerable children are easier to train.
Exactly. And second, the overall attendance at Hogwarts is in decline because of Voldemort's past association with the school.
So pure-blood families are pulling their support, forcing Dumbledore to kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel for new students.
And among these new recruits is Agnes Parker, whose dilemma is it's deeply rooted in abandonment.
Her parents were killed by Death Eaters, which is how she ended up with the Dursleys alongside Patrick.
And she gets her Hogwarts acceptance letters, but she also gets offers from 2 Christian boarding schools her parents had attended.
Walnut Valley Christian Academy and Providence Christian School.
But Agnes, having suffered years of abuse, she sees those schools as having completely abandoned her after her parents died.
So she chooses Hogwarts. But her entrance is marked by defiance, not submission. She sends this blistering letter to the headmistress.
And what she demands is just extraordinary. She wants to know how they found her. She wants the truth about her parents' deaths, specifically saying they were killed by a wizard.
And she insists on being placed in a normal dorm, rejecting any kind of special treatment.
Her primary motive is absolutely clear: retribution and accountability. She's not coming for knowledge.
No.
She's coming to find her parents' killer, force an official investigation, and make the magical government pay for what happened.
She sees the ministry and the school as culpable in her loss. Hogwarts is just her tool for revenge.
And finally, we have Alexander Sandy Ulrich returning to the fold.
Dumbledore is furious about having to admit him.
Furious. Precisely because of his mother's history and the clear implication that Dumbledore caused the deaths of Sandy's grandparents.
But once again, he's overruled.
McGonagall uses his responsibility for those deaths as irrefutable leverage, forcing him to admit the son of the disillusioned Order member.
So Sandy Ulrich's enrollment, it's not a victory for Dumbledore. It's a constant, painful reminder of his earlier crimes.
And the deep mistrust his actions have sown.
So this collection of students, the logical muggle-raised boy, the traumatized decoy, the vengeful daughter, the magical child soldier, and the deeply resentful son of a former Order member, this sets the stage for segment 3.
This is where the sorting happens, and Dumbledore's plan completely and utterly implodes.
But before the sorting, the decoy game has to end.
Right. Harry is brought back to the Dursleys to replace Patrick Harvey after 11 years with the Evans family.
The switch happens at the zoo, and we learn that Willa Tyrell, who is already working secretly with Snape, witnesses this whole event.
And her mission is, and I quote, to ruin some lives and thwart Dumbledore.
And Harry immediately proves Dumbledore's entire plan failed. He is not docile like Patrick was.
Not at all. He stands up to the Dursleys right away and starts improving life for Agnes and Nicholas.
And this is when the myth is truly shattered for him.
Yeah. Nicholas and Jonathan immediately confirm to Harry that Patrick was the decoy, that he was placed there and cursed by Dumbledore.
And Jonathan delivers the definitive line that debunks the entire central mythology of this world.
He says, and the sources emphasize this, nobody survives the Avada Kedavra curse.
Which means the boy who lives story is unequivocally a Dumbledore fabrication.
It's the critical piece of information that arms Harry. As a logical person, a physics enthusiast, this confirmed lie validates all his inherent skepticism.
So he gets his Hogwarts letter and notes the sheer irony that going to this school contradicts everything he knows about established science and relativity.
And that skepticism is immediately recognized by his future allies. When it's sorting day, there is a clear strategic alliance already at play.
Snape and Flitwick.
They conspire to keep Harry out of Gryffindor. They're terrified Dumbledore will successfully mold him into this reckless, loyalist echo of James Potter.
Their target houses are Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff.
So the sortings begin, and they reveal this new power structure. Agnes Parker is placed in Gryffindor.
Which is likely Dumbledore thinking he can still control her retribution narrative.
Probably. Dudley, surprisingly, is sorted into Hufflepuff, which suggests a latent loyalty and fairness that was just suppressed by his parents.
Jonathan also joins Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
But the pivotal moment is next. Harry Potter is sorted into Ravenclaw.
And the immediate physical reaction from Dumbledore is described as dismay.
He banked everything on his golden boy being a Gryffindor. The house he controls, the house of reckless loyalty.
And instead he gets Ravenclaw, the house of logic, skepticism, and inquiry. It's exactly where a physics major belongs, and it is the worst possible outcome for Dumbledore's control grid.
The Gryffindor fallout is immediate and ugly.
Oh yeah. Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger are described as expressing intense disappointment and later just outright hostility towards Harry.
And Hermione, the self-appointed guardian of wizarding authority, insists Harry belongs in Gryffindor because he is the chosen one.
Their disappointment isn't for Harry's sake, it's for the derailment of their own preordained hero narrative.
This exposure of Gryffindor arrogance is so central to the narrative inversion.
It is. They aren't defined by bravery here. They're defined by a rigid adherence to Dumbledore's hierarchy and this deep-seated prejudice against anyone who breaks their mold.
And you see this hypocrisy reflected right away in Patrick Harvey.
Right. Patrick, the actual decoy, is now a Gryffindor. And Dumbledore, in this desperate attempt to salvage his plan, tries to manipulate Patrick into becoming friends with Ron and Hermione.
But Patrick, he's broken, but he's not defeated.
He lashes out. He refuses the forced friendship, recognizing that Dumbledore is actively trying to control every aspect of his life, even who his friends are.
This is where the house jumping starts, right?
Yeah.
Signaling this massive shift in loyalty.
Yeah. Chauncey Barlow, Eleanor's brother, who the sources describe as autistic or mentally disabled, he leaves Gryffindor after being made to feel unwelcome and despised by his own housemates.
Which just emphasizes Gryffindor's deep intolerance and their lack of any true compassion.
But the twist is that Slytherin House accepts him. Draco Malfoy and Sandy Ulrich take him in.
This isn't just simple acceptance. It's a recognition of loyalty and strength beyond the surface.
Right. It suggests that Slytherin's values, while still focused on ambition and control, are more nuanced and maybe less prejudiced than the rigid, Dumbledore-controlled Gryffindor structure.
And the anti-Dumbledore alliance is formally solidifying right there.
Patrick Harvey, traumatized by the curse and the hypocrisy, starts aligning with Sandy Ulrich and Chauncey Barlow. Their shared goal is simple: seeking strength and control over their own destinies.
And crucially, Snape is an active strategist in this rebellion.
He is. He starts advising both Patrick and Harry. He notes Harry's surprising progress in potions, which, speaks to Harry's logical mind.
And he agrees to help them plan against Dumbledore. Snape isn't operating as a double agent for Voldemort.
No, he's a rogue protector against Dumbledore. He sees these children as tools of change, maybe redemption, but definitely as levers to dismantle the power structure he resents.
The groundwork is laid for absolute war against the headmaster.
Which brings us to segment 4, where the conflict escalates rapidly from cold resentment to open warfare, culminating in a vicious confrontation in the library.
Okay, the Halloween period is key. Harry is already suspicious, but Andra Dumbledore, in a moment that is both tragic and profoundly telling, she drops the biggest truth bomb yet.
What does she say?
She tells Harry his parents weren't supposed to die on Halloween.
Wow.
Yeah. That single statement solidifies Harry's greatest fear, that his parents' deaths were part of Dumbledore's broken plan, confirming that the headmaster had direct responsibility.
Far beyond just simple oversight. That's huge.
Then the troll incident happens, which on the surface is a safety scare, but it's critical because it forces outside scrutiny.
Right. Hagrid reveals the Minister of Magic is coming to visit Hogwarts specifically because of rumors.
Rumors written by a diligent student, likely Agnes Parker, pursuing her goal to make the magical government pay.
So the scrutiny forces Dumbledore's hand. He cancels the haunted house, and most importantly, he orchestrates an escort of the Slytherins to the Ravenclaw quarters.
The very inter-house interaction he's been trying to prevent.
And it just feeds the alliance. And then the intelligence war begins in earnest with the Dumbledore file leak.
Luna Lovegood.
In her wonderfully unique way, she gathers the necessary files on the key Gryffindors and the key Ravenclaws.
And we need to be specific about what's in these files because it goes way beyond just plotting. These weren't just letters. They included handwritten notes from Dumbledore detailing precise social engineering techniques for pairing Ron and Hermione with a decoy Patrick.
Wow.
Specific instructions on what virtues to praise in front of the Dursleys, and a detailed plan outlining how to manipulate Harry into joining Gryffindor and cultivating dependence on Dumbledore.
So this is the definitive, undeniable proof of betrayal.
For Harry, who's already skeptical, this is like being handed the psychological blueprints of his own planned abuse.
He must have been enraged.
Enraged, he decides to confront Dumbledore and his Gryffindor lackeys. Open conflict is the only way forward.
Which leads to the explosive final showdown in the library. And this isn't some secret duel.
No, it's a massive organized confrontation, a public revolt. It's witnessed by students from all houses, Slytherins, Hufflepuffs, even some of Patrick's Gryffindor allies.
The stakes couldn't be higher. And the sources provide these shocking granular details of the combat, and it reveals the true face of Gryffindor prejudice.
First, Philip Dennison, representing Ravenclaw's logical strength, defeats Hermione Granger.
And Hermione, in her anger and defeat, immediately lashes out with prejudice. She insults his ancestry, saying he's descended from slaves, and she mocks America.
Julia Black, a witness, is described as being furious at this raw, exposed bigotry.
Right. Hermione's insistence on purity and superiority immediately aligns her with the kind of prejudice the Gryffindors are supposed to be against.
Next, Eleanor Barlow from Ravenclaw defeats Ron Weasley.
And Ron just completely loses control. He launches this devastating, specific, personal attack on her brother, Chauncey,
saying the disabled brother should have been killed at birth.
It's horrific, but he keeps going, exposing deep old family secrets.
He reveals the source of the Barlow family's blood traitor status. He confirms they refused to kill Chauncey to remove the stain they got when their father saved a Muggle woman from some evil wizard decades ago.
This is the moment the narrative just crystallizes the moral failure of Gryffindor. Their supposed courage is rooted in this vicious prejudice against the disabled, against the Muggle world, against anyone who deviates from Dumbledore's path.
Their defeat is total.
And Crabbe and Goyle, the Slytherin allies, along with Dudley and Jonathan from Hufflepuff, they restrain Ron and Hermione. The alliance is fully realized in this moment.
Harry then steps up for the ultimate confrontation with Dumbledore, who arrives just in time to see the utter collapse of his favorite house.
And Harry doesn't mince words. He accuses Dumbledore of being a manipulative and abusive man.
And he delivers the most devastating line, comparing Dumbledore's historical actions directly to Voldemort's.
What does he say?
He says, "You have killed more people in your life than he had in less than 3 years."
Wow, that is specific, calculated, and horrifying. It shows Harry's precise understanding of the headmaster's past.
And then he delivers his final warning. "The moment the truth about me is revealed, the end of your days will begin."
He leaves Dumbledore reeling, having just effectively dismantled his authority in front of the entire student body.
Harry is established as this logical, anti-establishment force, determined to tear down the whole facade.
Which sets the immediate stage for Segment 5, the Philosopher's Stone, True Identities, and the aftermath of this revolutionary first year.
Right, so after the high of the library duel, Patrick, Agnes, Julian, Abigail, and Arvy, they go down the trapdoor. They're seeking the stone, and the answers Dumbledore has always denied them.
But they find Professor Quirrell instead. And Quirrell, in classic villain style, immediately confirms Dumbledore's manipulation and the entire fraudulent basis of the prophecy.
And this is where the biggest shock of the entire narrative happens. Agnes, in desperation, pulls out a silver locket engraved with a stag. And Quirrell, seeing the locket, confirms the staggering truth. Harry, Patrick, and Agnes are all Potters.
All three of them.
Patrick is Lucas Potter, Harry's brother. Agnes is Juniper Potter.
Wow. So that changes everything about the magic that saved them. It wasn't the lone boy who lived.
It was the power of the three Potters. Quirrell confirms that the prophecy can be rewritten by the three Potters, implying their combined destiny is what matters.
Which instantly removes the burden of solitary heroism from Harry.
This reveal is interrupted by Snape's dramatic entrance, with Neville Longbottom in tow.
And Snape reveals he knew Quirrell was trying to manipulate the children. His motivation is profoundly personal.
Right. He says he's protecting Harry, Juniper, and Lucas because of his complex, enduring relationship with their mother, Lily Evans.
And he clarifies his stance by telling Quirrell that the children are not responsible for James Potter's despicable behavior.
So Snape is acting on a moral debt to Lily, protecting all three of her surviving children from Dumbledore's machinations.
This confirms his status as a complex antagonist to Dumbledore, operating totally outside the established hero-villain dichotomy.
The situation is immediately complicated when Voldemort appears, disembodied, from the fireplace, ordering Snape to stand down.
And the battle culminates in two moments of true heroism that just underscore the anti-Gryffindor theme of this whole story.
First, Harry grabs Quirrell, and because of their connection, this action causes Voldemort immense pain. Harry's instinctive protection of his siblings proves potent.
But the unexpected moment belongs to Neville Longbottom.
Yes. Neville, who Quirrell had just scoffed at as a clumsy fool, uses Petrificus Totalis on Quirrell, freezing him instantly.
It's this quiet act of focused, decisive bravery, a complete contradiction to the boastful, reckless courage Dumbledore champions in Gryffindor.
Neville's act reinforces that true heroism resides in those who are often overlooked.
So the year ends not with a celebration of Gryffindor virtue, but with a complete inversion of the traditional status quo.
Ravenclaw wins the House Cup, directly because of their victory in the library duel and their willingness to challenge authority.
And the Gryffindors are sullen, withdrawn. Their moral superiority has been completely shattered.
Harry is completely done with Dumbledore. He refuses all explanations. He just demands that the Dumbledore find a safe, better family for Patrick, Lucas, and Agnes Juniper.
And Nicholas confirms that Lee Evans's protection of Harry was absolute, and that Patrick and Agnes are now free from the Dursleys.
They'll be placed in a nurturing environment.
But despite Harry's deep desire to just go back to a normal, logical life free of magic, he and his friends decide they have to return to Hogwarts.
Their mission has broadened from self-protection to systemic change.
They have to stop Dumbledore and neutralize the influence of his still unchecked Gryffindor loyalists like Ron and Hermione. The fight for control is far from over.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, who brought these sources to light? Let's synthesize the big picture from this incredibly detailed narrative.
The most important takeaway has to be the total inversion of the ethical and structural hierarchy. Dumbledore is explicitly revealed as the primary villain.
A manipulative, abusive sociopath whose main goal is creating dependency, not security.
And along with that, Gryffindor House is completely redefined. It doesn't represent bravery, it represents arrogance, self-righteousness, and this deep-seated prejudice.
As horrifically evidenced by those vicious insults in the library duel.
And we have to remember that the central myth of the boy who lived is unequivocally debunked. No one survives Avada Kedavra.
Harry's initial claim to fame was a conscious fraud created by Dumbledore to control the narrative and raise a dependent hero.
But Harry isn't the lone fetcher of destiny. The revelation of the three Potters, Harry, Juniper, and Lucas, fundamentally changes the nature of the prophecy.
It shifts the focus from an isolated, engineered hero to a collective force of siblings who are united against the abuse they suffered.
And finally, Snape's motives are confirmed as complex, personal, and protective. His actions are rooted in guilt and obligation to Lily Evans,
which cements his role as an enemy of Dumbledore, focused on protecting her children from the headmaster's machinations.
It reinforces the theme that Dumbledore's most potent opponents come from the most unexpected, deeply personal places.
This whole story is really a study in trauma and resistance. Harry, the logical mind who excels in physics and questions the very existence of magic, he reluctantly determines he has to return to the place he distrusts most.
His desire for normalcy is completely overshadowed by his sense of duty to dismantle the broken system.
And this raises the final provocative thought we want to leave you with.
If the supposed savior, Harry, only wants to tear down the system that abused him, and his heroic sidekick, Patrick or Lucas, is traumatized and scarred by it, can this generation of abused and manipulated children truly create a new, functional wizarding world?
Or are they destined to simply replace the old, flawed heroes with new, deeply damaged ones?
The cost of their redemption might just be their own innocence.
Think about the future implications of that damaged generation as you process this deep dive. Thank you for sharing your sources with us. We'll see you next time.